Today we're going to be looking at excerpts from Nathaniel Branden's The Power of Self-Esteem, so we can kind of get to the bottom of what it really is.
Okay.
Why it's so important to us humans.
Right.
And how we can cultivate it in a way that goes way beyond those feel-good affirmations you see on social media.
Yes, yes.
And get this. We're going to discover why self-esteem is no longer just a psychological need, but also a vital economic force in our ever-changing world.
You know, it really is fascinating how this concept of self-esteem has evolved beyond the feel-good notions to become so deeply intertwined with our individual and collective well-being and even our economic success.
Absolutely. One thing that really struck me was Brandon's point about how even subtle family dynamics can shape our self-esteem from a young age.
Yeah.
He uses this example of a child asking her mom why she looks sad.
Okay.
And she's met with denial from the mom,
Right.
a scolding from the dad, and then blame from the mom towards the dad.
Oh, my God.
And it's just this whirlwind of confusing messages for a child to process.
That anecdote really highlights how even seemingly minor inconsistencies in a child's environment can lead to confusion and self-doubt.
Yeah.
Imagine experiencing that kind of interaction repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
It can make a child feel like their perceptions are unreliable.
Right.
And that seeking understanding is pointless.
Yeah.
It's like the foundation for feeling not enough is being laid right there.
It makes you realize how much those early experiences might contribute to the struggle some adults face later on when they're trying to heal and build a stronger sense of self. It's not just about what happened, but how it shaped our understanding of ourselves and the world.
Precisely. And while parenting isn't the only factor at play here, we do have free will after all.
Of course.
It certainly has a significant impact.
Yes.
So how does Branden actually define self-esteem? He describes it as having confidence in our ability to think and cope with life's challenges.
Okay.
Along with a deep-seated belief in our right to be happy and assert our needs.
I like that.
He emphasizes that self-esteem is a fundamental need, as essential as any other, and acts as a psychological immune system, strengthening our resilience in the face of adversity.
Okay, so we've established that self-esteem is important for navigating the ups and downs of life.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Branden links self-esteem to addiction, suggesting that those struggling with addiction often seek to escape inner pain and fear, rather than simply chasing pleasure.
It makes you wonder if the root cause is often a lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
That individuals try to fill with external substances or behaviors.
Yeah.
This highlights the critical connection between valuing ourselves and achieving genuine fulfillment.
Yes.
Without self-esteem, nothing feels truly enough.
Right.
And we might find ourselves constantly seeking external validation to fill that void.
And this brings us to a truly fascinating point.
Okay.
Self-esteem is no longer just a psychological need.
Right.
It's become an economic necessity.
Absolutely. As we've transitioned to a global information-driven economy, we see a demand for more than just technical skills. Innovation, self-management, and personal responsibility are becoming increasingly essential for success. And guess what underpins all of these qualities?
What's that?
You got it.
Okay.
Self-esteem.
Wow, that's a huge shift in today's world where change is constant
Yeah.
and possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
Self-esteem seems to be the key to adapting, thriving, and making empowered choices.
Yeah.
It's like the secret ingredient to navigating this complex landscape.
Exactly. And here's another crucial point.
Okay.
Self-esteem is an achievement.
Okay.
Something we actively build rather than passively receive.
This completely debunks the myth that high self-esteem is just about blind positivity. Think about that study about American kids rating their math skills highly, despite scoring poorly.
Yeah.
That's not true self-esteem.
Yeah.
It's just a superficial sense of confidence that's easily shattered.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It's vital to distinguish between authentic and pseudo-self-esteem.
Okay.
Pseudo-self-esteem relies on external validation.
Right.
Popularity, possessions, the opinions of others.
Yeah.
While true self-esteem is an internal experience that's independent of achievements or praise.
So it's like the difference between being an imposter and being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's happening around you. You're not seeking approval.
Right.
You're already grounded in your own sense of worth.
Precisely. Constantly seeking external approval only leads to anxiety and a persistent feeling of inadequacy.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for never feeling truly content.
And this brings us to pride.
Okay.
Something Branden describes as the natural, joyful byproduct of accomplishments that are aligned with our values.
I like that.
He shares the story of a highly successful businessman who felt deeply unhappy because his success wasn't rooted in his own dreams.
Oh, wow.
He was living someone else's version of success.
It's a good reminder that if we're not experiencing genuine pride in our accomplishments, it might be a sign that we're chasing someone else's goals. Instead of pursuing our own passions and values.
It makes you wonder how many people are living lives that don't truly resonate with their authentic selves.
Probably more than we realize.
So how do we actually cultivate this valuable quality of self-esteem?
It boils down to volitional choice. The conscious decision to actively participate in building our self-esteem. While genetics and upbringing play a role, they don't determine everything. We have the power to shape our own sense of self.
This reminds me of Cooper Smith's research
on the benefits of good parenting. But, even he acknowledged that there are exceptions. Resilience is possible, even for those who didn't have the ideal childhood.
Absolutely.
It's empowering to know that our past doesn't have to define us.
Absolutely. The key is to focus on what we can control. Conscious living, self-responsibility, and integrity are the internal generators of authentic self-esteem.
I like that.
It's about aligning our actions with our values and taking ownership of our choices.
That's so empowering, isn't it?
It really is.
We're not just victims of our circumstances. We have the ability to shape our self-perception.
Absolutely.
And create a solid foundation for self-esteem.
Exactly. And we can learn to recognize the hallmarks of healthy self-esteem in ourselves and others. Look for qualities like being comfortable discussing both accomplishments and flaws. Openness to feedback. And a genuine curiosity about the world.
I love that it's not about being perfect.
It's about being authentic and open to growth.
Exactly.
And don't forget the physical signs: a relaxed face, good posture, lively eyes.
Oh, yeah.
These are all reflections of inner harmony and self-assurance.
Absolutely.
A question I've always had is, can you have too much self-esteem?
That's a great question, and the answer is a resounding no. Just like you can't have too much health.
Oh, okay.
Can't have too much self-esteem.
Interesting.
Arrogance and boasting often mask insecurity. Think about it. Truly confident people don't need to put others down. Or brag about themselves. Their self-worth speaks for itself.
I've actually noticed that people who are genuinely confident often lift others up.
That's a fantastic observation.
It's like their sense of security allows them to celebrate the successes of those around them without feeling threatened.
That's a beautiful point.
So we've established that self-esteem is crucial, but it's also an ongoing process, not a destination. It's not something you achieve and then you're done.
It requires constant nurturing and attention.
So what are some core foundations we can focus on to cultivate and maintain authentic self-esteem?
Branden highlights living consciously as a fundamental principle. A commitment to awareness as a way of life. It's like that child who keeps trying to understand despite being surrounded by confusing adults. They refuse to give up on seeking clarity and meaning.
I love that analogy.
It's a powerful one.
It's about choosing to be present, engaged, and curious about our own experiences and the world around us, even when things get tough.
Exactly. He also introduces the will to understand, a persistent desire to learn and grow, and the will to be efficacious, which is the belief in our ability to make a difference in the world. These are both essential for building resilience and an internal locus of control. It's about refusing to succumb to feelings of helplessness and actively engaging in shaping our lives.
It's striking how those concepts connect to the idea of strategic detachment. The ability to maintain hope and a sense of possibility, even in challenging circumstances. It's like those kids who, despite facing incredibly tough situations, still intuitively know there's more to life. They don't deny the difficulty, but choose to hold on to a vision of something better.
It's incredible how the human spirit can transcend even the most difficult circumstances.
It really is.
And it reinforces the idea that self-esteem isn't tied to IQ or external factors. It's about how we choose to navigate the world, regardless of our starting point.
Exactly. And independent thinking plays a major role in building self-esteem.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about true independent thinking.
Yeah.
Not just echoing the opinions of others,
Right.
but engaging in genuine critical thinking.
Okay.
And forming our own conclusions based on reason and evidence.
It takes courage to think differently, especially when faced with pressure to conform.
Oh, absolutely.
I wonder how many people have never made independent thinking a conscious goal.
That's a good question.
It makes you realize how easily we can surrender our intellectual autonomy without even realizing it.
That's a profound observation.
It is an important one.
We might be unknowingly conforming to societal norms or the expectations of others without ever questioning whether those beliefs actually align with our own values and experiences.
And that brings us to the importance of living with integrity.
Okay.
Acting in accordance with our values, beliefs, and convictions.
Right.
Integrity is essential because hypocrisy takes a psychological toll.
Yes.
We can't truly respect ourselves if our actions consistently contradict our values.
Yeah.
It's like we're living a divided life.
Yeah.
And that dissonance undermines our self-worth.
And it's important to clarify that self-acceptance doesn't mean approving of everything about ourselves.
Right.
It's about acknowledging our flaws without judgment and recognizing that we are worthy of love and acceptance, imperfections and all.
Exactly. And if we realize our values are leading us down a path we don't want to be on, it's a signal to reevaluate those values.
Okay.
Not to abandon integrity altogether.
Right.
It's about staying true to ourselves.
Yeah.
While remaining open to growth and change.
It's an ongoing process of self-reflection, adjustment, and refinement.
It really is.
It's about constantly striving to align our actions with our evolving understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Speaking of self-acceptance, it's a concept that's often misunderstood.
It really is.
Many people think self-acceptance means resigning yourself to your flaws or rejecting the possibility of change.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's about acknowledging where we are without judgment, which paradoxically opens the door to transformation.
Interesting.
It's like creating a safe space within ourselves where we can explore our strengths and weaknesses without fear of condemnation.
Branden tells the story of a woman who struggled to say no to men's advances. Once she finally accepted this about herself, she felt calmer.
Oh, wow.
More self-respecting and more empowered to change her behavior.
That's fantastic.
It wasn't about approving of her actions. It was about acknowledging a pattern and creating space for transformation.
That story beautifully illustrates how self-acceptance isn't about stagnation, but about creating the psychological conditions for positive change.
Yes.
It's about recognizing that we are already whole and complete, even as we strive to grow and evolve.
And this leads to a crucial realization.
What's that?
No one is coming to save us.
Oh, right.
We have to take ownership of our lives, our choices, our actions, and ultimately our happiness.
That's the essence of self-responsibility.
It is.
It's an antidote to the victim mentality that can keep us stuck in cycles of blame and resentment.
Absolutely. It's about embracing our agency and stepping into our power as the authors of our own lives.
And this brings us to the significance of self-esteem in the workplace. A realm where it's becoming increasingly vital for thriving in today's rapidly evolving environment.
It's fascinating to consider how self-esteem impacts everything from decision-making and collaboration to navigating the ever-increasing demands for learning and adaptation.
People with healthy self-esteem tend to be more effective decision-makers. Not because they're always right. But because they trust their judgment. And can handle the pressure of complex choices.
It's about believing in our capacity to make sound decisions.
Exactly.
Even when faced with uncertainty or ambiguity.
And this confidence extends to collaboration as well. Exactly. Individuals with high self-esteem approach collaboration and consensus building with respect and a genuine desire to find solutions that benefit everyone involved. They're not driven by ego or the need to be right. They're focused on achieving the best possible outcome for the team as a whole.
It's about feeling worthy of success and happiness rather than constantly seeking external validation from others.
And this highlights the importance of creating a workplace culture that fosters self-esteem.
I agree.
Managers and leaders have a crucial role to play in promoting high expectations while also allowing for responsible mistakes.
Of course.
Encouraging lifelong learning.
Yes.
And empowering employees to set their own goals.
It's about creating an environment where individuals feel valued, respected,
Absolutely.
and empowered to contribute their best.
You know, something that really struck me from Branden's work
What's that?
was his insight that the fear of making decisions is a major cause of failure for executives.
That's a fascinating observation, and it really resonated with my own experience in leadership roles.
Yeah.
It suggests that even those in positions of power can be crippled by self-doubt.
Right.
And a lack of trust in their own judgment.
And when you think about how much information is out there,
right,
and how many choices we're constantly bombarded with,
it's overwhelming.
The ability to make clear, confident decisions becomes even more crucial for success in any field.
It's like we're living in a constant state of information overload.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to get paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice.
That's where Branden's guidelines for decision-making becomes so valuable.
I agree. So what are some of his guidelines?
He emphasizes considering the widest possible context.
Okay.
Identifying all relevant factors and potential consequences.
Yeah.
And asking ourselves who will be affected and how.
Right.
It's about making conscious, informed decisions.
Yes.
Rather than reacting based on fear, pressure, or the opinions of others.
It's not just going with your gut.
Not necessarily.
You have to really think it through.
He highlights the importance of trusting our own minds to make the right decision.
Okay.
After we've gathered all the relevant information.
I see.
It's about cultivating a sense of self-trust.
Yeah.
It allows us to move forward with conviction.
That brings us back to the core principle of self-efficacy.
Right.
The belief in our ability to think critically, learn from our experiences, and navigate the complexities of the world.
It's about recognizing that we are capable individuals who can handle challenges and find solutions.
And this confidence in our abilities is built through practice, perseverance.
Absolutely.
And a willingness to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth.
And think about the ripple effect this has on collaboration and consensus building.
Yeah.
When we trust ourselves, we're more likely to approach others with respect, openness, and a willingness to listen and consider different perspectives.
Yeah.
It creates a more positive and productive environment where everyone feels safe to contribute their ideas.
Absolutely. It shifts the dynamic from competition and ego to collaboration and shared success.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And that we can achieve more when we work together with a spirit of mutual respect and support.
And this ties into the concept of worthiness, feeling deserving of success and happiness, rather than constantly striving to prove ourselves to others.
Exactly. When we feel worthy, we're less likely to fall into that us versus them mentality.
Oh, yeah.
It's about moving away from scarcity and competition towards a more collaborative and abundant mindset.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something valuable to offer.
Exactly.
And that our own success doesn't diminish the success of others.
Absolutely. It's a more inclusive and empowering perspective that benefits everyone involved.
I agree. And it's interesting to note that research suggests people with high self-esteem are actually more likely to be socially cooperative.
Oh, wow.
Benevolent, generous, and compassionate.
That's fascinating.
It challenges the misconception that self-esteem is selfish or egotistical.
That's counterintuitive, right?
It is.
We often associate self-esteem with arrogance or self-centeredness.
Yeah.
But it seems that true self-esteem actually fosters a greater sense of connection and a willingness to contribute to the well-being of others.
It's a beautiful illustration of how personal growth and social responsibility can go hand in hand.
It is.
When we feel good about ourselves, we're more likely to extend that goodwill and generosity to those around us.
Absolutely. It's like our inner abundance overflows into our interactions with others.
And this reminds me of Branden's story about working with an unproductive team.
Okay.
He discovered that many of the team members simply didn't believe they could make a difference.
Oh, wow.
Their lack of self-esteem was holding them back from fully engaging and contributing their talents.
That's powerful.
It makes you realize how much our self-perception can impact our performance.
Yeah.
And our ability to collaborate effectively.
It's a powerful reminder that even in a professional setting, our sense of self-worth can either empower us to thrive or prevent us from reaching our full potential.
I see.
It underscores the importance of fostering a workplace culture that celebrates the unique contributions of each individual and provides opportunities for everyone to feel valued and respected.
It's about creating a sense of shared purpose
Yeah.
and fostering an environment where everyone feels safe to take risks, make mistakes,
Absolutely.
and learn from their experiences.
And this becomes especially important when navigating economic uncertainty.
Yeah.
When our sense of self-worth is solely tied to our job title or income level,
right.
we become incredibly vulnerable during times of layoffs or career transitions.
That's a really good point, and it happens so often.
It does.
So what can people do to build that resilience?
That's why it's crucial to develop a sense of competence,
Okay.
rooted in our internal sense of self-efficacy,
Right.
rather than relying solely on external markers of success.
So not just your job title or how much money you're making.
Exactly. We need to find a sense of worth that transcends our job title or income level.
I think Brandon's anecdote about the Chrysler executives facing a potential bailout really illustrates this point.
Yeah.
He challenges them to consider whether it's truly healthy to have their self-esteem hinge on the decisions of people they don't even know.
Yeah.
It's a wake-up call to reclaim our sense of agency and find a more stable and resilient foundation for our self-worth.
It's about recognizing that true self-esteem comes from within.
Yes.
And is not dependent on external circumstances.
It's a good point.
And this leads us to the essential skill of lifelong learning.
Okay.
In a world where knowledge is constantly evolving and industries are being disrupted, the ability to adapt and acquire new skills becomes crucial for not only career success, but also for maintaining a healthy sense of self-esteem.
It requires a shift in mindset from focusing on what we already know to embracing our capacity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging that we are constantly evolving and that the process of learning and self-discovery never truly ends.
It's about asking ourselves, how did I go from knowing nothing about this field to becoming proficient in it?
Yeah.
What learning strategies have worked for me in the past, and how can I apply them to this new challenge?
I see.
It's about cultivating a growth mindset that embraces the exciting possibilities of continuous learning and development.
It's like we're shifting from a fixed mindset where we believe our abilities are set in stone to a growth mindset.
Exactly.
Where we embrace the idea that we can always learn, grow, and expand our capabilities.
And leaders and managers can play a vital role in fostering a culture that supports lifelong learning.
Right.
It's about setting high expectations while also creating a safe space for experimentation mistakes and growth.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that learning isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process that requires support, encouragement, and a willingness to embrace new challenges.
And this ties into the importance of setting challenging yet achievable goals.
Both for ourselves and for those we manage.
Branden suggests that we often underestimate our capabilities.
It's true.
And encourages us to set our sights high enough to stretch ourselves while also staying grounded in realistic expectations.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot between comfort and challenge, where we can push beyond our perceived limitations and unlock our full potential.
It's about recognizing that growth happens outside of our comfort zones.
Absolutely.
And it's about having the courage to embrace challenges as opportunities for learning and expansion.
And this brings us back to that crucial reminder that there are no shortcuts to authentic self-esteem.
I agree.
It's not something we can fake or force.
Right.
It's an ongoing journey of living consciously, responsibly, and with integrity.
It's about aligning our actions with our values and cultivating a deep sense of self-worth that radiates outward into all areas of our lives.
It's about recognizing that our self-esteem is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves.
And as Branden eloquently puts it, self-esteem really is the reputation we get with ourselves.
It's a reputation worth building, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's the foundation for a fulfilling life, both personally and professionally.
Right.
It impacts our relationships, our work, our health, and our overall well-being.
It's amazing how multifaceted self-esteem truly is.
It really is like a tapestry woven from threads of self-awareness, responsibility, integrity, and self-acceptance. And as we've been discussing, it's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix.
Exactly. Building self-esteem is a journey of showing up for ourselves each day and making choices that honor our worth.
And, you know, sometimes that means facing some tough truths about ourselves, which can be uncomfortable. But as we've seen, the discomfort can actually be a catalyst for growth. Absolutely. It's in those moments of honest self-reflection that real transformation can occur.
Branden talks about the importance of recognizing and challenging those thought patterns that chip away at our self-esteem.
It's like becoming aware of that inner critic, The one that tells us we're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough.
Right.
We need to learn to question those negative thoughts and replace them with more empowering beliefs.
He also encourages us to pay attention to the physical manifestations of self-esteem, both in ourselves and others. Remember those lively eyes, relaxed posture, and a genuine ease of movement we talked about earlier.
It's fascinating how our body language reflects our inner state of being. When we feel confident and self-assured, it literally shows up in our physical presence.
And on the flip side, when we're struggling with low self-esteem, it often shows up as tension, awkwardness, or lack of vitality.
It's like our body is mirroring that internal struggle.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could actually use our physicality to influence our mental state.
That's an interesting thought. If we're feeling a bit down, maybe trying to adopt a more confident posture or making an effort to smile more often could actually shift our internal experience.
It's certainly worth exploring. It's not about faking it till you make it, but about consciously aligning our outer expression with the inner state we want to cultivate.
It's about creating that feedback loop that reinforces our sense of self-worth.
And this leads to another important aspect of self-esteem, the willingness to assert our needs and set boundaries.
This can be a real challenge for many people, especially those who've been conditioned to put the needs of others before their own.
It's a pattern that often starts in childhood where self-expression might have been discouraged or even punished. But as adults, we have the power to choose differently.
We can learn to recognize our needs, communicate them assertively, and establish healthy boundaries that protect our time, energy, and well-being.
And it's not about becoming selfish or demanding, but about honoring our worth and creating relationships that are mutually respectful and supportive.
Branden emphasizes that asserting our needs is a sign of self-respect. It's about recognizing that we deserve to be treated with consideration and that our needs are valid.
This ties back to developing a strong sense of self-efficacy, that belief in our own ability to handle life's challenges.
When we trust ourselves to navigate difficult situations, we're less likely to feel helpless or dependent on others to rescue us.
It's about stepping into our power as capable and resourceful individuals.
And we have to remember that self-efficacy isn't innate. It's developed through practice and perseverance.
Each time we face a challenge, overcome an obstacle, or achieve a goal, we strengthen our belief in our own ability to handle whatever life throws our way.
We build resilience, that inner strength that allows us to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward.
It's like developing the I can do it attitude even when things get tough.
Now let's shift gears and talk about the role of integrity in building self-esteem. Branden highlights how crucial it is to live in alignment with our values to develop genuine self-respect.
It's about walking our talk. When our actions are consistent with our beliefs, we experience a sense of inner harmony and authenticity.
But we all make mistakes. What happens when we fall short of our ideals? Does that mean our self-esteem is irreparably damaged?
Not at all. The key is to approach our mistakes with self-compassion and a willingness to learn from them. Branden makes a distinction between self-acceptance and self-approval. Self-acceptance is about acknowledging our flaws without judgment, while self-approval would be condoning behaviors that we know aren't in our best interests.
So it's about holding ourselves accountable without beating ourselves up and recognizing that change is always possible.
Precisely, we can learn from our mistakes and make different choices in the future.
It's about embracing the ongoing journey of growth and evolution, rather than striving for some unattainable ideal of perfection.
Exactly, and this brings us to another crucial aspect of self-esteem, setting boundaries, especially in the workplace. It can be challenging when we feel pressure to say yes to every request or work long hours to prove ourselves.
You know, I think overworking ourselves can actually be a sign of low self-esteem. It's like we're trying to earn our worth through our productivity instead of recognizing our inherent value as human beings.
That's a really insightful observation. It speaks to the need to establish clear boundaries around our time and energy, both at work and in our personal lives.
Branden encourages us to recognize that we have a right to recharge and pursue activities that bring us joy.
And it's about communicating those boundaries assertively and respectfully to others.
Which can be a learning curve, especially for those of us who tend to be people pleasers or conflict avoidant.
Absolutely. But it's a vital step in honoring our needs and creating a more balanced life.
And it's important to remember that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's a sign of self-respect. It's about recognizing that our time and energy are valuable, and we have the right to choose how we spend them.
Creating space for our own well-being allows us to show up more fully for the people and things we care about.
Now let's go a little deeper into self-acceptance. Branden emphasizes that it's not about resigning ourselves to our flaws or giving up on growth.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging where we are in this moment without judgment It's like saying to ourselves, this is me with all my strengths and weaknesses, and I'm okay with that.
It's about embracing the full spectrum of our humanity.
And paradoxically, that radical acceptance can be the catalyst for profound transformation. When we stop fighting ourselves, we free up energy to focus on growth.
We're creating a more compassionate internal environment, allowing ourselves to flourish.
And it's important to remember that self-acceptance is a process, not a destination.
We might find ourselves revisiting this practice over and over, especially during challenging times.
It's about cultivating that gentle inner voice, reminding us we're worthy of love and acceptance even when we make mistakes.
And this brings us to the concept of self-responsibility.
Branden reminds us that we are ultimately responsible for our own lives, our choices, and our happiness.
This doesn't mean blaming ourselves for everything that happens, but it does mean recognizing the power we have to choose our responses and the direction of our lives.
It's about shifting from a victim mentality to a creator mentality, recognizing our agency and stepping into our power to shape our destiny.
That's such a powerful shift, taking ownership of our choices, both positive and negative, and learning from them.
It's about realizing we have the power to change our circumstances, relationships, and ultimately our experience of the world.
And cultivating a sense of accountability, owning our mistakes, learning from them, and making amends where necessary.
That's a crucial part of integrity and essential for building trust with ourselves and others.
And it's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to own our imperfections and strive for growth.
It's about approaching life with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn and evolve.
Embracing the challenges and opportunities, knowing that we have the inner resources to navigate them successfully.
This brings us to a crucial aspect of self-esteem, embracing our unique individuality.
In a world that often pressures us to conform, it takes courage to stand out, express our authentic selves, and forge our own path.
It's in that embrace of our individuality that we discover our true strength and power, recognizing and celebrating the qualities that make us unique.
Branden really emphasizes independent thinking as essential for self-esteem. It's about questioning assumptions, challenging the status quo, and forming our own conclusions.
It's about being willing to think differently, even when it means going against the grain.
And developing a discerning mind, the ability to distinguish between fact and opinion, truth and falsehood, and to form our own judgments based on reason and evidence.
This is crucial today when we're constantly bombarded with information. We need to navigate that overload and make informed decisions aligned with our values.
And that takes a healthy dose of skepticism, the willingness to question what we're told, do our own research, and come to our own conclusions.
Now let's discuss the role of pride in self-esteem. Branden describes pride as the healthy and joyful result of accomplishments rooted in our values.
It's that deep satisfaction and fulfillment that comes from knowing we've done something meaningful, something aligned with our purpose.
And it's important to differentiate between authentic pride and arrogance. Arrogance stems from a need to prove superiority, while authentic pride comes from a genuine sense of accomplishment and self-worth.
It's celebrating our achievements without boasting or diminishing others, recognizing and appreciating our efforts and progress.
And acknowledging the role of others in our success. We rarely achieve anything truly great alone. It's about cultivating gratitude and recognizing the interconnectedness of our lives.
So let's talk about practical strategies for building self-esteem. Branden emphasizes setting realistic goals and celebrating our successes no matter how small.
It's about breaking down large goals into smaller, more manageable steps and recognizing each accomplishment along the way.
Creating a positive feedback loop that reinforces our sense of efficacy and keeps us motivated.
And remembering that progress, not perfection, is the key to building lasting self-esteem.
He also encourages practicing self-care, both physically and emotionally nourishing our bodies, getting enough rest, and engaging in activities that bring us joy.
It's about recognizing that we deserve to be treated with kindness and care, both by ourselves and others.
And creating space for our own well-being so we can show up more fully in all areas of our lives.
It's amazing how all these threads of self-esteem are interwoven. It's not just about positive thinking, but cultivating a holistic approach to living that encompasses our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and relationships.
It's about understanding that our self-esteem reflects our relationship with ourselves and the world around us.
And it's something we can nurture and strengthen throughout our lives.
Building self-esteem is a lifelong journey, and it's definitely a journey worth taking.
It's incredible how much our self-talk influences our self-esteem. Those inner voices of doubt and criticism can be so powerful, shaping our beliefs about ourselves and what we're capable of.
It's like we have this inner critic constantly whispering in our ear, telling us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. If we're not careful, those whispers can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's why it's so important to cultivate a more compassionate and supportive inner dialogue. Branden suggests we challenge those negative thoughts, question their validity, and replace them with more empowering beliefs.
It's like becoming aware of those automatic negative thoughts and making a conscious choice to reframe them. Instead of saying, I'm such a failure, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? Or what are my strengths that I can use to move forward?
It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion, which takes practice, just like any other skill we have, to actively cultivate a more supportive and encouraging inner voice.
And sometimes it's as simple as remembering that we don't have to believe everything we think just because a thought pops into our head doesn't make it true.
We have the power to choose which thoughts we focus on and which ones we let go of. The more we practice focusing on positive and empowering thoughts, the stronger those neural pathways become.
It's like we're rewiring our brains for self-esteem. We were talking about boundaries earlier, and I think it's worth diving a little deeper into that. It can be a real struggle for people who are used to putting everyone else's needs before their own.
It's a pattern that often develops in childhood. If our own needs weren't consistently acknowledged or met, we may have learned to prioritize others in order to feel loved or accepted.
But as adults, we can make a different choice. We can learn to recognize our own needs, communicate them assertively, and set healthy boundaries to protect our time, energy, and well-being.
It's crucial to remember that setting boundaries isn't about being selfish or rejecting others. It's about honoring our worth and creating relationships that are mutually respectful and supportive.
It's about recognizing that our needs are valid and we deserve to be treated with consideration just like anyone else. And, setting those boundaries often creates more space for healthy and fulfilling relationships.
I completely agree. And it's important to acknowledge that setting boundaries can be a gradual process. We can start with small steps, like saying no to one extra commitment or carving out a few minutes each day for self-care.
And as we get more comfortable asserting our needs, we can gradually expand those boundaries to create a life that feels truly authentic and aligned with our values.
Let's talk about purpose and meaning. Branden suggests that having a sense of purpose, something that gives our lives direction, can be a powerful source of self-worth.
It's about feeling like we're contributing to something larger than ourselves, which doesn't have to be something grand or world-changing.
Exactly. It could be as simple as being a supportive friend, a loving parent, or a dedicated volunteer in our community. What matters is that it feels meaningful to us.
It's about finding something that lights us up and makes us feel truly engaged when we're living in alignment with our purpose. It naturally boosts our self-esteem.
It's like tapping into this wellspring of inner strength and motivation.
And sometimes finding our purpose is a process of exploration. It's not always something we're born knowing.
Exactly. It might take trying different things, exploring new activities, or reflecting on our values and what truly matters to us.
And it's perfectly fine if our sense of purpose changes over time. Life is a journey, and our passions and priorities may evolve as we grow.
The key is to stay open to those new possibilities and to keep seeking what brings us joy and fulfillment.
Now, I want to touch on the role of relationships in self-esteem. Branden emphasizes surrounding ourselves with people who support and nurture our growth.
It's about fostering relationships with people who believe in us, encourage us, and challenge us to be our best.
And recognizing that we deserve to be in relationships that are mutually respectfully supportive and uplifting.
This might mean letting go of relationships that are toxic or draining, even if it's difficult.
It's about prioritizing our own well-being and creating space for healthy and fulfilling connections. And it's about extending that kindness and compassion to ourselves.
Being a good friend to ourselves means treating ourselves with the same care and understanding that we would offer a loved one.
Recognizing that we're worthy of love and care, regardless of our achievements or mistakes, and practicing self-forgiveness when we stumble because we all make mistakes.
Part of being human.
Yeah.
The key is to learn from those mistakes and move forward with self-compassion rather than self-criticism.
As we wrap up this deep dive into self-esteem, I want to leave you with one last powerful thought from Nathaniel Branden. He says, self-esteem is the disposition to experience oneself as competent to cope with the basic challenges of life and as worthy of happiness. What jumps out at you from that definition?
What's fascinating is how he connects self-esteem to both competence and worthiness. It's not just about feeling good about ourselves, but about believing in our ability to handle life's challenges and recognizing our inherent right to experience joy and fulfillment.
That's such a powerful and inspiring message. It reminds us that building self-esteem is a journey, not a destination. And it's about showing up for ourselves each day and making choices that nurture our sense of worth.
It's a journey worth taking as we cultivate self-esteem. We not only enhance our own lives, but also create a positive ripple effect that touches the lives of those around us.
So as we conclude this exploration of self-esteem, I encourage you to embrace its power. Remember that you are worthy, you are capable, and you deserve happiness. May these insights guide you on your journey of self-discovery and growth.
And for those who want to delve even deeper, I highly recommend exploring Branden's other works. Honoring the Self and the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem are excellent resources that offer a wealth of insights and practical strategies for building and maintaining healthy self-esteem.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep nurturing that incredible force within you. Until next time on Outward Blind.